Hey everyone! Looking through the list of reviews on the channel, I actually found another sword that I haven't talked about in a while, and that would be this here, Portuguese sword by BlackFencer. Okay, so this is another update video, so if you want my initial impression, the stats, if you want to see me using it, all that kind of jazz, just check out the original review that we published. It will be down in the description. This here is just a space where I want to talk about what happened with the sword since, how I've been using it and all that kind of stuff. So another shorter one, really. So yeah, this is a sword that I am still actively using. It's kind of my I want to do messer-ish stuff with my left hand, but don't actually want to buy a left-handed messer kind of sword. It's a bit cheating, it might be a bit heretical, but if I'm being honest, that's kind of what I'm mostly using it. Or just actually trying arming sword-related stuff, or if I'm using a buckler or the Hungarian shield or something like that. Though that is something I don't do too often. I do, of course, have another BlackFencer messer that doesn't have a nagel that I also use for left-handed messer stuff. That is more appropriate, then you could say. But this one, of course, has the advantage of actually having something nagel-like that I then can actually use to do all the messer stuff that needs something like this. So that is what I'm mostly using it for then, and it is actually quite fun. It held up great over the time. I don't really think I ever needed to do anything with the blade, maybe like filing one or two nicks out, but other than that I just really left it as is. One thing that has happened is that I needed work done on the nagels here, really, because I think, if I remember correctly, originally they are kind of screwed into the guard here, and they fell out. That is nothing that I can really hold against the sword though, because I was using it at the time against a longsword. And if you are using it against a longsword and do messer things where you actively use these to parry, not just kind of have them as a guard for sliding off and protecting your finger or outside of the hand, then that's a lot of force that goes into these. And in the end, then I sent it back to Alberto. He welded them into the guard this time, and since then they've just been fine, really. The guard bent a bit in just because of all the force that comes on the thing, but now that it's kind of touching the blade, it mostly just stayed there, really. It's a pretty tough and rugged piece, I would say. That is something that I definitely appreciate, while still being flexible enough, though it is a bit on the stiffer end. You need to control your thrusts a little bit, but I find it really manageable for that. Also, I still think it is a really pretty sword, to be honest, especially with the blue grip. It's just really nice and shiny. I would still say, though, that this is probably not the sword you will be looking into if you want something that is very light and that you can use for drills for hours on end. There is a certain heft and oomph to this one. Now, I personally like that and dare say that I can kind of deal with it. But you do notice it, especially when you do very controlled point kind of work. I don't know, around a buckler or a shield or something like that. But on the other hand, as I said, it is really rugged, and that's a quality in its own, and it is very pretty. So it's still something that I would recommend if you know what you're getting into, and of course if something like this, a more complex hilted later kind of arming sword, is something that you're actually looking for. But for that, I really quite like it. So still using it actively, still bringing it along to events even. So nice one. Cheers.